Yep.
Alrighty, hey fellow film fans, Englentine here with Dalton the Authenticator, and we got to talk about some Black Panther, just like everybody else in the world. I saw it yesterday, and I almost just turned on the camera right then and there and started filming like a driving video or something because I wanted to talk about this. Marvel Phase 4 has been nicknamed the MCU. I hate that name because it really does sound like you hate the characters because they're women. And it makes no sense to me because I don't know any comic book fan that wouldn't want a She-Hulk movie, you know, but or She-Hulk
But
TV.
what we got was not that, and that's the problem.
Well, that's, yeah, but the thing is that it's not just the MCU that's the problem. It's the
approach,
written. Yeah, and it's the execution.
And the refusal to tell the difference between feminism and women. And
so I find myself in a weird position here with Black Panther. There are a lot of things that are good about this movie. There are a lot of things that are bad about this movie. There are a lot of things that are bad about this movie, and mostly things that are bad. But there's a lot of good things too. And I unfortunately, I don't know where I stand with this film yet. So for me, I've got to plop this right in the center of the pack, but I don't know where this is going to end up because I understand don't recast Black Panther. Okay, there's a reason. All right. I think it's a huge freaking mistake that they didn't recast Black Panther. Sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but the truth is two things can be right at the same time. The problem with recasting Black Panther is that Chadwick Boseman had been deified at that point. They didn't look at Chadwick Boseman as a regular actor for playing Black Panther. He was elevated to some sort of saintly status, and it would have been incredibly distracting.
He was to T'Challa as RDJ was to Iron Man, or Chris Evans was to Cap, or Kevin Conroy was to Batman. To keep
at
things
some point down the road, you want to reboot Iron Man. That's good, but it can't be while Robert Downey Jr. is still viable. It just can't be, right?
Yeah.
But I understand because it would have been such a distraction to recast Black Panther. But it was a huge mistake not to as well. So
here's the thing about that, and why I ultimately come down on the side of don't recast him.
Okay.
Ryan Coogler and company were able to use their grieving of losing Chadwick to inform the story of losing T'Challa. And that is a heck of a solid foundation creatively and emotionally not to use. And I think if they had recast T'Challa, it would have just been another Marvel sequel instead of a director and crew working through their grief and also allowing the audience to work through their grief of losing Chadwick and or T'Challa. I
would like to say hello to the chat that's popping in here. Ethereal Dragon in the disguise. Otis Suttonberry, howdy do, and Dominic, what's up? We're going to be doing a non-spoiler review for a little bit, and then we're going to pop into spoilers. But we will give you a heads up but you might get mild spoilers here and there, for which I apologize because it's more likely going to be me. I'm the spoilerly one here. I do have to say the story where they're honoring Chadwick Boseman, once again, good parts, bad parts. I'll get into that in just a little bit, but because I want to say this right off while it's on my mind. Them not recasting T'Challa and going along with the We Lost T'Challa storyline gave us one of the best performances in the MCU, hands down. No irony, no hesitation to say it. Angela Bassett, who
deserves an Oscar.
Queen. Holy freaking hell. There is a scene. I'm not spoiling anything because in the first movie, you should have seen it by now. Everybody and their brother did. But in the first movie, the, what are they called? The bald women warriors. It's
Dormalage.
Dormalage. Yeah. They protect the crown. They protect the king of Wakanda. So in the first movie, when T'Challa was cast out and she thought her son was dead for the first time, she had to be cast out along with him by the Dormaggio. And she calls that out. And it was one of the strongest performances I've seen this year. I'm not going to say just for a Marvel movie. Angela Bassett knocks this out of the park, hands down. And we got that because they decided to tell the story that they decided to tell. And I think that that performance is way too valuable. And I'll say like this, and then we can move on to the movie and we can stop talking about whether they should have or should not have. I know Film Threat, I saw their thing and they're like, oh no, they shouldn't. No, you're forgetting something, and you're forgetting something very important that I think a lot of comic book collectors and even a lot of moviegoers forget. Movies aren't comics. We're not getting this shit every month or every 2 weeks. We're getting this stuff when they decide to make it. So it's a whole different ball game when you're making a movie rather than when you're making comics. So it's okay to kill off a character early or to sacrifice, do something life-changing, because you just don't have that much time. Even in peak health, Chadwick Boseman wouldn't have been able to go on as long as Black Panther, the character, lasted. Now you can recast. I get it, because James Bond, 60 years now, has been fine. But I think that, like you said, this storyline elevated it to the center of the Marvel universe.
It made it special as opposed to just another sequel. Because the loss of Chadwick informed how to write the loss of T'Challa and gave it more dramatic weight than it otherwise would have had, especially given the tendency of the MCU lately to overplay the joke hand a little bit too much. The tragedy gave them an excuse to hold back on that sufficiently to where it's no longer forced or distracting like it was in, say, Love and Thunder.
And in a disguise, pointing out something that is true in the comics and the movies. Black Panther is not like Thor. You can't pass Thor's name down, which, by the way, the movies respected far more than the comics. It's a mantle. So at some point in time, somebody could step in, like Shuri in this film. I don't think I'm spoiling anything.
And she always was going to, one way or the other. It's just a matter of it works here because
they could pass this down to anybody. Now, with all that said, I got to tell you, all of that stuff that we just talked about makes Black Panther 2 one of the greatest films in the MCU. And it would have been had it not been for the other 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm kind of right where you were, and I think we talked about this before we came on, where I initially was like, I put it higher because of all the positive aspects. And then I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, it's a bit long, it's a bit dull. There are some issues, and I went on record when we reviewed Multiverse Madness as saying it had issues too, especially script issues. But the difference is, Multiverse of Madness had a hell of a cool factor that I loved. I don't think Black Panther 2 has as much cool factor. Now, you can say it had more emotional weight because of all the things we just went into and the amazing performances from everyone involved, but particularly Andrea Bassett. But honestly, for me, I'm not as susceptible to emotionality of the overwrought dramatic kind.
That is because we have decided you are either robot or alien. We are not sure yet, but it's one of those.
I am an interdimensional Lovecraftian creature. This should. I mean, look at the way I'm dressed. Does it not scream gentleman, trickster, demon at the crossroads? Yes. Well, but that's neither here nor there. But my point is, where Multiverse of Madness corrected its script issues with cool factor, Wakanda Forever addressed its script issues with dramatic weight, and for me personally, I prefer cool factor over dramatic weight when necessary.
I'm a little bit different than you. If you give me compelling characters that have to write a bad script, I can forgive that a little bit better. But yeah, well, there's things that we have to talk about, and I think the next thing on the block, look, we're going to tackle a little bit more in the spoiler section of this review, but moving on, I think the other big elephant in the room, other than how they handled the death of Chadwick Boseman, is Namor. What do we say about Namor or Namor? Or Namor, or Namor.
Okay. Yeah. While we're here,
at one time, I believe I heard them call Namor Todd, just because it's a different pronunciation of the name Namor. That thing was all over the place. Us getting mad because we saw that thing going Namor. I'm telling you, that's just one of the ways they say that name in this movie.
Yeah. Okay. Again, the Mesoamerican elephant in the room. You guys remember when it got revealed that they were going to go, the Mayan city of Mu route instead of Atlantis, and I was actually okay with it because let's be real here. Aquaman got to Atlantis first, so Atlantis was kind of off the table, or they would have had to.
Atlantis shouldn't have been off the table. Atlantis is the mythical underwater place. Marvel's got one. Aquaman's got one. They should have just said it was Atlantis.
But here's my thing. They would have either had to have gone a completely different design route, which I think would have been silly, and people still would have complained, or they can acknowledge the fact that there are underwater cities, underwater continents in a lot of different cultures. And given that they were kind of trying to do for the Mesoamerican or Latino or Latin demographic what they did for the Black demographic in the previous one, I was fine with the idea of a Mayan stroke Aztec version of Atlantis, and I'm fine with them therefore Latinizing Namor's name. The one thing that I was not okay with is the stupid freaking translation, in air quotes, that they gave Namor's name. And it reminded me, and if anyone remembers the Army Hammer Johnny Depp Lone Ranger and what they said Kimusabi meant in that version, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The whole Namor means the boy without love thing is where I drew the freaking line.
Okay, this is what I think. I swear to gosh, they go, okay, Namor. What does that mean? I don't know. Let's find definitions in each different language. And then they found the one they like and they wrote a story around it. That's that. I swear to gosh, that is my tinfoil hat for this movie. That they looked around for some sort of, well, what does this name mean? And then when they saw the boy without love, like, bitch, your mom loved you for freaking centuries before she died, you dumbass. Come on.
Yeah, the whole thing and the whole,
everybody in that freaking underwater kingdom worships him like a god.
Yeah,
he's the boy
they literally refer to him as Kukulkan, who I believe is the Aztec equivalent or Mayan equivalent of Quetzalcoatl. I know they're cognates of each other. So you get worshipped as a god. You presumably also had your own original name, which your mother gave to you, which never gets brought up. And your enemies call you Namor, so you go broadly by Namor. That part didn't make sense to me either, because he's called Kukulkan by his people, which isn't his original name.
It's like the Thing taking up clobbering time after we found out it was what his brother said. It was the abusive brother
thing. Yeah, that whole. It's like number one, if you're gonna go with any name that isn't your birth name, it probably should be Kukulkan, because that's the name of a deity and it's what your people call you.
Mm-hmm.
And two, if you're going to go with some other name, why wouldn't it just be your birth name? Why would you choose to embrace what your enemies call you, especially when it means the boy without love, which we know definitively you are not?
Yeah, it didn't make sense, but that's why I say it sounded like they just looked for a good meaning and then put a story to it. Namor as a character, he had none of the arrogance that I want. He was about revenge. He was about more like world domination than he was anything. You're seeing, by the way, a whole bunch of memes now. Oh no, he's not the villain. He's just the antagonist. No, he wants to destroy the world so they don't find his vibranium and then his country. That's evil. Okay. And if you really want to point to the villains of this movie, Yeah, the Atlanteans are bad, but the
Pelocan.
the Wakanadans are really bad in this movie too. They are absolutely not the good guys in this film. They're the protagonists. Let's turn it around a little bit. They're the protagonists, but they're not the good guys. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
And let me tell you
there
something,
are
I
a few heroes in this movie, really.
I see. Who was it? Somebody brought up the whole what is it called? In a disguise. A Spanish Aztec, that not a thing, asking for help to fight the colonizer. Anyone would tell him what the Spanish did to. Yeah, right. But here's the thing. In the first movie, we find out that all of the tribes that make up Wakanda were originally warring tribes. Then the meteor falls, the Black Panther rises, and they bring all of those countries together under the rule of Black Panther. Mm-hmm. And then they're calling everybody else in the world who tends to, let's say, not have that year-round tan, colonizer, as if it's a bad thing. Shut the you know what?
Yeah,
they try to make Wakanda as this big, noble, we're all better than you kind of country. Like, you are committing.
Meanwhile, the tribes that exist on their doorstep are literally still in third world status. It's like, guys, I understand you being butthurt about the Europeans, but if you're so sort of Pan-African in your sensibilities, if you have such this unifying, we're all of the same ethnicity, so it's greater thing, then why is it that literally outside of your hologram force field there are literally African people still living in third world squalor? Again, we just can't talk about that.
And they won't help their neighbor, much less Europe. They won't even help the other African countries. But we're supposed to believe that they're the most moral. I'm sorry, but no. Let's shift and let's go back to what did you actually think of the character of Namor? I mean, we talk about his name, but what do you think about the character?
He didn't, like I said, a lot of the creative choices didn't bother me. I'm fine with them basing it more off of Mu or Tito Khan rather than Atlantis, because that is an established thing in like Mayan and Aztec mythology. And there are also other ones from other different cultures. So that to me is fine.
What did you think of the character of Namor, though? You're still talking about the past and background. How he played it, how he was written, how he was portrayed. I didn't
mind
Not
it.
Not yet in a disguise.
Because I thought I did see it more as arrogance than I think you did. Yes, there was definitely some vengeance there, but there was also that we are the most superior culture on the planet, and only the Wakandans can compete with us, so they are our only ally thing. That being said, I get Namor, I get that you're butthurt about Cortez and the conquistadors. So why aren't you attacking Spain specifically instead of the entire rest of the human race?
Now I want to shift focus, and because we there's another elephant in the room to talk about non-spoilerly, and then in a few minutes we're going to go spoilers. Letitia Wright did a great job in this movie. She is absolutely fine actress. She is not a lead, I think. I don't see her as that. I didn't get that feel, Chadwick Boseman had it. I don't think Letitia Wright did. It didn't drag the movie down to any kind of level, that had already been dragged to because of the writing. But I think that they may want to choose a different way to go about it in the third one, because she was constantly being outstaged by whomever was on screen with her. What do you think about Letitia Wright carrying the film?
She did as good a job, I think, as she was able, and she, much like Angela Bassett, really dragged every ounce of emotion out of the material she was given that she could. Mm-hmm. That being said, there's a reason why I really like the way they handled the ending, and we can't talk about it yet because we haven't gotten into spoilers, but because of the way they handled the ending, it's implied that she's not going to have to be a one-to-one surrogate for her brother or a one-to-one surrogate for Black Panther. And I was fully expecting them to Mary Sue her, and they didn't. So I have to give them some kudos for not literally just doing the gender swap and not blinking.
Okay.
That being said, as far as the next Black Panther goes, I've been saying it should be M'Baku rather than Shuri for years, ever since the first one and ever since Chadwick died. And I still maintain that M'Baku should replace.
I agreed with you up until I saw this movie. And since you brought it up, I'll say this and then we're going to go spoiler. Okay. Meaning I'm getting the last word on this. All right. So anyway, M'Baku, what's his name? The actor, I forget.
Winston Duke.
Winston Duke. Thank you very much. Owned every scene he was in, except for those. And in all honesty, I can't say, because he held his best against Angela Bassett in this film too. I'm just going to say this for those of you, it'll be slight spoilerly, but kill nothing of the story. I'll give you one word, and that word is carrot. M'Baku walks in, and he's holding a carrot. And what he does with that carrot is fucking fantastic as far as acting is concerned. It's the difference between somebody being able to say lines on camera and somebody being in the moment and being that character. And
someone actually able to understand and embody the character they're supposed to be playing.
Every bite was a punctuation. It was amazing the way he handled that character. I can only imagine he says his line, he takes his bite, and then he was like, so he could spit it out just so he could take that other bite. It was so freaking cool. And it's not just the carrot scene. Every scene Winston Duke is in, he owned. He was awesome in this film. And there was one where I was like, oh my gosh, I see it now. I absolutely freaking see the M'Baku movie. And I would, you know what I would do? And this would get me in trouble, but I would hope that they would just embrace the shit out of it. The whole tribe thing, they worship the gorillas.
Yeah, the albino apes.
Let him own the name Man-Ape. Because
they're never going to.
They would never do it. But there's this scene where he is just lording. I mean, he has huge presence. And he's wearing this big fur coat and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, they created the Man-Ape.
And
which, by the way, for those of you who don't read freaking comics and are going, oh my gosh, the racist. No, M'Baku's name, his super villain name was Man-Ape. Okay. And
because his tribe worships a gorilla spirit, an albino gorilla spirit.
Now, granted,
and he's also built like.
The costume in the comics is a little bit more troublesome than what M'Baku was, but they can stylize it and his tribe would absolutely find that to be an honor to be called that, and they should steer into that, and they would take away some racism because they embrace that. But when I saw him and he's talking to Letitia, right? He's talking about to Shuri at the time, and he's just big. And of course, she's tiny, so I would look big.
But Winston Duke is huge, regardless. Like you can even see pictures of him.
Right behind him was the ape totem, and I was like, oh my gosh! Like I said, they created the Man-Ape, right? And it was amazing. And I was like, own that shit. Don't let the racist motherfuckers out there tell you it's wrong either. Take it, own it, be it. I loved Winston Duke in this, but there you go. That's my 2 cents on it. Let me get a couple of comments here. Into Disguise says Letitia Wright does not have the it factor to carry the movie as a lead. She's a great side character, and I agree with that. How dare the Spanish stop the Aztec from sacrificing their neighbors is ethereal. Into Disguise says they marry Suitor, but waiting till spoiler time. Okay. Hamna says, let the spoilers. I would have earlier, but I really wanted to talk about how awesome Winston Duke is in this movie. Ryan Coogler made Riri the only student at MIT capable of making a plot MacGuffin. We'll get to that. Disney seems to have the idea that black women can be impaled by lightsabers through the chest or spears through the spine and just walk away. Okay, the thing is that the purple shaped flower actually gives a healing factor.
Yeah, the heart shaped
and extra endurance, and so there are superpowers involved. And we've seen superpowered people in comics do some crazy. So I wasn't mad at that. Universe Man saying Ryan Coogler automatically made Riri pro mech fighting once she put on the suit. We're going to get to that. Okay. Here's the thing. We're going to do spoilers. Spoilers, basically, we go through the story. We talk about things as we remember it. And there is no way we're not going to ruin something if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you are hoping to see this movie unspoiled, turn back now, because the next 30 minutes or so are going to be heavy spoilers.
I really hope you stick around if you have seen it, but if you haven't and you want to go in knowing as little as possible, by all means. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so the movie opens up, and I got to tell you, it opens up with one of the biggest mistakes in MCU history. We see Letitia Wright, and she's running around the lab, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I can cure my brother of this illness." She's trying to recreate the purple rose
heart-shaped herb.
Yeah, and she doesn't do it. She doesn't make it in time, and off-screen, Chadwick Boseman dies. If you've watched anybody else's review about this, they said what I'm thinking and aloud most people thinking. You've got a character here that has a mask covering everything.
You could literally just do a Black Panther.
Yeah, you could.
CGI and do it.
What I would have done is what a lot of people has done is or said. I would have had him fighting, maybe not Namor necessarily, maybe just a group of Atlanteans, but I would have tied his death. I would have tied his death to Namor in some way, shape, or form. I could understand that would change the story a bit, though, because no way in hell are the Wakandans going to team up.
Take that line down.
Yeah. But you could have had him fight anybody. You could have had the return of Claw, and Claw take him. Anything. Point being is, give him a hero's death. Have him remove the helmet once, and you see a Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, knowing this is it. This is done. He puts the helmet back on. He goes into battle, and he dies. Give him the heroic death.
See, I'm with you on part of that, in that I think we should have seen some version of Chadwick on screen, but I'm fine with him dying of a illness rather than in battle, because Chadwick himself was playing Black Panther all the while having late stage cancer, and none of us knew, and he was stoic enough and affable enough that he kept that secret from us to allow people to have their hero. So having T'Challa have a similar dynamic where he was sick and no one knew, I think was fine. I do disagree. I do agree with you in the sense that they probably should have cut to him lying in a hospital bed or some Wakandan equivalent of a hospital bed, probably in the armor. So obviously CG. Well, but we could have actually seen him die on screen in a hospital bed at least.
The next thing they show her, she's all undone by grief and such, and we cut to 1 year later, and Angela Bassett is Queen of Wakanda. And my first question was, who the hell did she fight in that lake mountain? I mean, wasn't that a whole thing in the first movie? We got to get together. Oh my God, okay, let's go fight in the water, and the winner gets to be king and Black Panther and all that shit. Who did freaking Angela Bassett have to fight to get the queendom?
See, I think because T'Challa was acting king when he died.
You know what? So was the king when the king died, but still his son had to go into the freaking water mountain and beat the shit out of somebody.
I think they were still in a transition period, and the funeral had to happen before that whole thing could be addressed.
It just, that bothered me for a little bit. But then again, of course, okay, I'll get past that. Let's go to the story. And we see Queen, what's her name? Queen Angela Bassett. And she's sitting there in the UN, and she's saying, "I get it that you want our resources." What? what? And then that, I mean, that was basically the dialogue. Oh my gosh, they are so freaking evil, because if you remember, T'Challa himself said, we're going to share what we have. And then she's like, oh, nope, you can't have it. No. And you're the villains for trying to get it. You're the villains for trying to discover it. That's the whole point. You're if you're not Wakanda or in Atlantis, you're a villain for wanting what they have. It would be as if America had all this oil, or Saudi Arabia and Middle East had all the oil, so they attacked America so we wouldn't drill it on our own land or off our coast. It's the same thing. So Wakanda does all this villainous, and then they still act like the good guys as they're walking out. We find out that the French attacked one of, now that was wrong. You don't attack. You don't attack anyone else's stations or anything to steal the stuff. Go find it yourself. That was wrong. But she hoards all these French soldiers into the UN and then goes, this is me being fair. If you attack us again, this is a war.
Yeah, okay, but here's the thing. Here's why I think it's slightly different with Talocan, the Atlantis surrogate, and Wakanda. Because in the first movie, in the first Black Panther movie, at the end, T'Challa specifically says, we are going to reveal ourselves to the world and share our resources. So T'Challa's stated will as king was, we are going to diplomatically engage with other countries and bargain for vibranium. So Queen Ramonda, Angela Bassett's character, is going back on a previously stated arrangement. I get it more with the Talocan, because the Talocan are still in isolationist mode and they didn't reveal themselves to the world. Okay, they are being private. So that
once again, I will say this, even though what I didn't like on the page, Angela Bassett owned that shit. She did great.
Yeah, she's acting the shit out of it. This is the step. She is Oscaring her way through this movie.
So we see Angela Bassett goes into Shuri's lab and she's talking to her and everything. We see that she's working on some armor for the Dora Milaje. Of course, Michonne doesn't like it because she's a traditionalist, but and so Angela says, okay, come on, Letitia, we're going to go take a walk into the African jungle at night by ourselves, and we're going to sit by a freaking watering hole by ourselves in the African freaking jungle, and we're going to have a heart-to-heart. No, you know what your conversation is going to be? Holy shit, a lion's after us. Let's go. Yeah,
but they're born and raised in essentially that part of the jungle.
Yeah,
so I didn't...
okay, that just means the lion is having some naturally African food. It doesn't mean anything. But no, they are literally, that's another problem with the script. I had great view, great anything, but you should have had a Dora Milaje on either side. They should not have been by themselves at the time. Okay, so anyway, they have their heart-to-heart about letting T'Challa go. And they talk about how burning the funeral. Oh, we got to talk about the funeral. I do have to mention one thing, but they talk about that, and that's when Namor pops up. Let me back up to the funeral a little bit. You saw the same movie, guys. You saw Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, right?
Yes, it did.
I want to make sure, because I need, and everybody in the chat, please explain something to me. Were they mourning or were they celebrating when they were burying T'Challa? Because if you look at the family members, and then if you look at the dancers, like, what is going on here? Can you have an emotional continuity? Am I supposed to be celebrating the life of T'Challa and enjoying the dance scenes? Beautiful white man's overbite, or should it be like should we be mourning the death? Which, you know, it was so how everything was out of place. There
was some dissonance, but I didn't mind it, because having having a little bit of like National Geographic background in various different funerary cultures, I get the idea of the family members themselves are in mourning, but the rest of the country is celebrating.
Here's the problem I have with it, because I do understand that a funeral can be a celebration of life, or it can be so. But here's the thing, and this is why I really had a problem with it, and get serious for a moment. The royal family walking down the streets of Wakanda with their dead, the people's dead king and their dead son, brother, nephew, what have you, is in mourning, is in obvious mourning by the facial features. So every time you would, the Coogler would cut between the mourning and the dancers and the
celebrating.
I mean, you see two drummers, they're freaking like, it's like they're on a goddamn If You Got Talent or something like that. It was such a difference in emotional tone,
dissonance,
to show them. Yeah, it was so bad. It was jarring. And that I had trouble with. Look, the dance is filmed beautifully. I loved watching the dance. One of my guilty, one of my guilty pleasures is I love dance films. You know, step up movies, I dig them. I watch Dancing with the Stars. I love watching beautiful dancing. Something I can't do for the life of me, but except for this. All right, but I could do the Muppet dance. Yay! There you go.
And when she's doing the bat you see in the background.
Yeah, but it was so tonally different that it was just I couldn't get into the funeral scene. That being said, Namor shows up to talk to Angela Bassett, and we've seen this scene. We didn't see the whole thing, however. The clip that they showed made it look like Namor was, but I'm whining. But the whole thing was him going, look, you're going to do what I'm going to say, or I'm going to whip the shit out of you. So he's more arrogant.
Because by the way, you guys revealing yourselves to the world has now jeopardized me and my people, and we didn't want to reveal ourselves to the world, so you need to fix this or we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, basically it. He gives them an ultimatum. You help us destroy the world, or we're going to destroy you and then the world. Which I'm thinking, wait a second, excuse me, teacher.
Namor.
Teacher, can I ask you a question? Okay, if you're going to Wakanda because you need their army in order to destroy the world, what would it serve for you to destroy Wakanda right before you attack the world? Wouldn't it be smarter to maybe say, okay, well, if you stay out of it, you will survive, and then go attack the world, because by doing what you're doing, you'll create an enemy of the world plus Wakanda? I'm just saying.
Also, again, Namor, I get there's a Cortez-shaped chip on your shoulder. I get it, but attack the people who are violating your borders or violating your laws or what have you. I.e., attack the people who are actually doing wrong, not literally all of humanity, please.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I understood the maestro says it's traditional African custom, the dance and such. But once again, it works as real life. But when you're trying to convey an emotion in a movie, you want a certain tone. The way they were showing it, it was undercutting the seriousness of the death. And in my opinion, it looked, and once again, my opinion, that's all we could say here is mine and his opinions. It did look like they were mocking the family. But however, I do want to clear something up. Following that, there is no one African culture, because there's a lot of different countries. We get it. There's no one American culture either. Florida does not live like Idaho or Iowa.
Texas versus like Maine or Massachusetts.
But we kind of get the understanding. It's the same thing when people say, do you speak Chinese? No, no one does. They speak Mandarin, they speak Cantonese, they speak one of a gajillion dialects.
Yeah,
we get what you mean when you say it.
So that being said, I will say, with regards to my opinion on the funeral thing, it didn't bother me, because I thought that dissonance was kind of part of the point of, like, their traditions say they should be happy and celebratory, but Ramonda, Shuri, and company are grieving, so they have to deal with the fact that their culture dictates they be celebratory, and they're still grieving.
So yeah, like the family, of course, can't celebrate because they lost a member, but the people can celebrate the life of
their king. And
so one part we left out was we see an American ship, and they found some So they found some vibranium using a vibranium detector. And
because apparently other metal detectors don't work on it.
Right. And the Atlanteans come in and they sink the ship. And now they want to find the scientist. And that's actually what Namor went to do, is to get the Wakandans to find the scientist that created the vibranium detector. Which I'm thinking, okay, then why did you sink the ship? Americans know where it is, dude. I'll guarantee gosh darn to you that when that ship stopped, hey guys, they were like, we're at coordinates this and this and this, and we found the freaking rock. The Americans know, or
there's a black box on the ship or something, or a transmitter or what have you.
You're not getting around. Americans are going to keep going, and if they need to keep bringing bigger ships with a lot more weapons, they're going to do that, to the point where, hey, we captured one of these blue people. How can we kill the out of them?
Oh, look, they don't survive well on land. That's interesting.
Apparently, they don't survive near space heaters either, but we're going to get to that. So yeah, the Dora Michonne and Letitia Shuri, they go and they try to find this scientist, which of course we all know. Hello, Riri, how you doing?
Yeah.
And excuse me, they released that clip as well, where you see him in the college room, dorm room. Before you see that, though, we meet Riri Williams, and she walks up to one of the white guys on campus. Hey, I did your test for you because you're a moron, honky. And then she walks away, and she didn't say it, but that was
it's not. She's not comic book levels of awful.
There are scenes you could cut out scenes from this film and make a short called "Shut Up, Honky." I mean, I swear to God, you could. It is in there, man.
I didn't take it that way. I took it as she's a highly intelligent girl.
No. I'm talking about every time they say the word colonizer.
Okay. That got old, especially because one of the plot points in the first movie, unless I am massively misremembering, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but Wakanda was never colonized by anyone, as far as I can remember.
They were the colonizers. I already explained it. Wakanda are colonizers, and they're calling everybody colonizers. Let's see. We've got Sokka saying she's from Idaho. Hey, cool. Yeah, in the terms of that stuff in that region, especially in Ethiopia, was meant to be mourning for the entire country. Okay. Let's see. Basically, literally, the Americans would literally go there the minute they lose a ship. Yeah, now they got to find out why the ship sank. So not only would you get one, you would get a whole bunch of battleships, and they would find out why that freaking ship sank. Let's see. My favorite George Jefferson slur. Oh yeah. You know what? You gotta love our time, Ed. We were raised with TV shows like Sanford and Sons and the Jeffersons and Archie Bunker. We didn't care. Nobody cared. We knew that people were different. And you know what? Who cared? We would even joke with each other. And you know what? Who cared? It doesn't matter. It didn't matter. And it shouldn't matter now. Anywho.
Old man yells at cloud for 5 minutes.
I know, right? So anyway, the Dora Michonne and Letitia Shuri, they go into Riri. First, Shuri says, hey, look, I'm not going to be as scary. I can blend in as a student. Let me go talk to her. And Michonne says, yeah, go on ahead. And so
which made sense because they're both genius level teenagers. So
well, also, Shuri looks young, and Michonne is dang near 40. So, and damn,
I mean, she looks good for
I know, 40, right?
But that's
well, you know that if we go into that, I'm gonna have to talk about some Lupita Nyong'o.
We don't want to lose the channel. We don't want to lose the channel. Keep it in wherever you need to keep it.
Alrighty. So yeah, she goes in, she tries to talk to him, and then Michonne shows up and says, I gave you 5 minutes. And she goes up to Riri and says, now you're either going to go to Wakanda conscious or unconscious. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the most noble country on the fucking planet kidnaps an American citizen. Now, granted, that her life was threatened by the Atlanteans, and I'm thinking, wow, that is way off the freaking coast, though. That is a huge leap for the other thing, the Notlians, I guess. Yeah.
The other thing is, this is unfortunately consistent with the Dora Milaje character, because if anyone remembers Falcon and Winter Soldier, I know we all would rather we didn't remember Falcon and Winter Soldier because it was bad and it was heavy-handed as sin. But
what, Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yeah, but
I don't what.
But what if you remember
what's Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
The Marvel does BLM and Antifa story.
What? I don't remember there being a show called Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't remember. I mean, there was a Falcon and the Snowman.
I hate you.
Mahler's the original Black Panther review. He has. Oh, okay. I don't want to read other people's reviews in the chat here. Sorry, guys. Fake Lannigan says that yellow spider guy. Yeah, but okay, so I get it. Yeah, she's being chased, so they want to help her, so they kidnap her. But still, they kidnap somebody off they're out of their country. That is not a good thing. Finding a place to hide her within the borders of her own country, okay, maybe. But no, she flat out says you're coming back to Wakanada, either conscious or unconscious, and I said it like that on purpose. And we basically find out. They go to her garage first, and there's an Iron Man suit that she built, just like in the comics. And as it was said, yes, she's a mech fighter as soon as she puts it on. And we have a chase because the feds show up, and they want to also take the scientist who built the
vibranium detector into custody for protective reasons.
Okay, so understand what's going on here. The federal government wants to get Riri and bring her to safety, but the Wakandans want to get Riri and bring her to Wakanda, where potentially she will be turned over to Namor to be killed. Wakandans are the good guys, kids. Wakandans are the good guys. Remember this, even though they keep doing bad things. I mean, during this particular chase, okay, if you're making fun of me for calling her Michonne, I forget her name, Okinawa. I don't know her. I forget her name. So anyway, Okoye. Thank you. Okoye potentially kills more than one cop in this chase, where the federal government is trying to get their hands on Riri because of what happened in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't get it, guys. Why are they the good guys again?
Because they're the protagonist and we say so. That's basically
it's their name is on the title of the film, right? And by the way, you may have noticed when we were talking about the beginning, it was more glowing. It was more appreciative. It's this middle 2/3.
Again, much like Multiverse of Madness, there are writing issues with this movie. Unlike Multiverse of Madness, it doesn't make up for it with cool shit.
Yeah, so they have this big old chase that may kill a few cops, and they end up on a bridge. Now, I do have to say something I may have missed. Remember, Namor goes to Wakanda and says, "We want you to get this scientist because your actions have drawn attention to my people, and I don't want my people discovered. So you go find that scientist." So they're on the bridge. The Wakandans they're driving on the bridge. All of a sudden, a big old water bomb goes off. Now, somebody I've seen on Twitter, I've seen in others, why are they so affected by a water balloon? No, sir. If you are in the water and a bomb goes off, you will feel the pressure.
Yeah, water pressure is no joke, kids.
So I kind of
look up the symptoms of the bends if you don't believe me there.
Which, by the way, they should have gotten in one scene later. These bombs, I assume, I kind of figured they were like depth charges. They blow up, the water goes out at an extraordinary force.
They're water pressure bombs rather than water balloons.
So they're knocked for a loop. The car goes into a wreck. Riri Williams, slides, and I love Okoye's reaction on this one. She whips out her spear, cuts the seatbelt, she climbs out. She's really worried about Riri, and that's when the Atlanteans, an awesome scene, by the way. These big ass blue whales kind of go off. I think the first one was a killer, and then the following were blue whales, and the Atlanteans jump onto the bridge. And I'm thinking, pardon me, excuse me, teacher, pardon, wasn't the whole point of sending Okoye and Shuri was that you didn't want the Atlanteans to be seen? Just saying. You're literally contradicting your script written in a scene that was just 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes maybe. WTF, people, to use the nomenclature. I didn't get that. I'm like, okay, so, but that is what happened. Let me see. Like, seriously, it's basically asking for Wakanda. They're horrible. They're horrible in this. I've seen Finding Nemo. I know a thing or two about how powerful bombs underwater can be. Oh, if you said Nemo too, I'm with you. Let's see. Please don't do the caps though. Why would you even do this? Yeah, exactly. The whole movie contradicts itself like in 10 minutes. So we do get a really good fight scene between Okoye and Atuma, as if it were filmed by Paul Greengrass. I'm assuming that the choreography was awesome,
but we didn't see it.
But the fight was kind of like this, and all I gotta say is, hey, dude, if you are filming an action scene, let the camera do that right there.
Enough with the shaky cam already, goddammit.
Yeah, that's all the camera has to do. You can film it in different angles, maybe do a close-up, but let us see what they're freaking doing. But otherwise, oh my gosh, look, Okoye is fighting. Is that Okoye? Oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
Black
unless you are literally doing a found footage movie, there is no reason for the camera to be that shaky. And as a real-world example, I am currently on my phone. My camera is not doing this.
Yeah,
the
we're
whole
full
bloody
on
time.
into spoilers now. That yellow spider guy. So it really, though, what you can tell, it comes off like, okay, this would have been awesome if I could see it. And then, of course, her not being Atlantean, no matter how skilled a fighter she is, if one punch is landed, it's done. And she does get knocked down, and the Atlanteans take Riri Williams, and Shuri volunteers to go. What happens to Okoye, she actually gets knocked over the bridge into the water, and she has to watch Shuri and Riri Williams get taken by the Atlanteans.
Telecan, but yeah.
We all know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know, but they did make some effort to not call it Atlantis, so
They made some effort to call him Namor, and he ain't Namor either. So are we? I don't. So anywho, this is when we get the greatest freaking scene. I'm telling you, it's not an action scene. It's the greatest acted scene in movie history. We cut to the throne room, and Okoye is telling the story to Queen Ramonda. You know, at this point, I'm just doing it for the joke, right?
Yes, okay. I know, but you know my OCD correcting ways, and you know it's going to happen every time you deliberately get it wrong.
So Queen Ramonda is sitting there listening to Okoye tell the story, and then she looks at her and says, she actually asks for some more, what do you call it? She just wants to go back out and find her. And Angela Bassett looks at her and says,
she called for reinforcements, I think is what you're referring to.
Yeah, reinforcement. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. And she says, no, you're going to lose your position as general, and you're going to lose your position from the Dora Marja. And Denai hits the ground, tears, great freaking scene. She is nailing it too. And she talks about how much she has sacrificed for Wakanda and how much she is given to Wakanda as one of the Dora Marja. And Angela Bassett stands up and says, bitch, please.
Yeah, I have. Have I not lost? I've lost my husband. I've lost my son. I've lost and now my daughter. And you
then
have the audacity.
She says, I've lost my husband. I lost my son. And when he was replaced, you, what is that? Ostracized. What do you banished? She banished her in that first movie. All the stuff that happened in the first movie came to freaking roost in this one as Angela Bassett laid into her, talking about the loyalty. What loyalty did she have? She had loyalty to a freaking chair, not to the royal family. And she booted her. She said, you're gone. You're done. Get out. Get the out.
And you get it, because imagine being in Ramonda's shoes and being like, at least I still have my daughter, and then she goes off on a mission with Okoye, and it's like, oh, by the way, Your Majesty, we lost your daughter, your only surviving blood relative anymore. Oops. Yeah, no, fuck off.
Then we cut. But once again, amazing scene. This right there, that scene. People are talking about Angela Bassett for I don't think it'll happen. I really don't. Maybe because
it should.
Maybe
in a safe world,
Panther gets elevated over other superhero films, so maybe she'll get nominated. But I can see her doing that. Actually, I've named 2 people for Oscars so far, and both of them are black ladies. So go figure. Killing it this year, ladies. Congratulations. All righty. Yeah, no, if you guys have Peacock, there's a movie called Honk for Jesus, and it's got Regina King in it. Holy that movie's good. But I digress. Let's go back to Black Panther. In the meantime, Shuri, we're traveling through Atlantis, and oh gosh, you know what do you know what Aquaman did? Aquaman had the actors act in a room, and then they digitally made it look like they were underwater.
Dry for wet is what it's called.
Right. Okay. So point being is, in Aquaman, you look at a people who look like they're used to being underwater. In Black Panther 2, you got the Notlandians, and they're all swimming real slow and awkwardly, like people would that deep underwater.
Yeah, the reason is they tried to do the underwater shots practically, and it didn't.
And it did not work, because there's some they're obviously like.
Like under normal circumstances, you'd be sitting there going, yeah, it makes sense, because
if they were
practical
filming
effects are good, but under these circumstances, there are certain things that CG is good for, and placing people in impractically replicatable situations is one of them. So they should have just done dry for wet.
So so the Atlanteans look like they belong anywhere but water. They do. It was so bad. I was like, oh gosh, no, you should have done it. You should have done it digitally, because you literally do. They show this one kid, and he's like,
or you should have gotten body doubles that are like professional underwater swimmers.
But the problem with that also, there's another thing that happens. There's another thing that happens when people go underwater and you film them. Their eyes kind of get red and puffy. And all the Atlanteans, or not Atlanteans, had red puffy eyes. So it was like, you don't belong there. This isn't a people who have lived
that magical herb of yours didn't really cover you as well as you would think it did it? You should talk to the Mayan god Shock about a refund on that miracle.
So they go through Atlantis, and I gotta say, and I know really you just should say this is the movie and that's a movie, and you should just treat it the way it is, unless like you're doing Black Panther and Black Panther 1, you want to compare them, fine. But if you're really talking and you got Aquaman on one side and you've got Namor on the other,
Aquaman did it better.
Aquaman did everything underwater better, and they did it. Atlantis was majestic.
And put a pin in this rant, because I guarantee you in a month or so, when we get Way of Water, despite James Cameron egotistical preening on the matter, I'm 99.9% sure that Aquaman also does it better than Way of Water.
I will say this. Way of Water was one of the previews I saw at the beginning of this movie. I saw the movie in 3D. Holy shit. I can't wait to see Way of Water now. I was looking forward to it, but now it's like, oh yes. I get why people loved it back in the day. I'm looking forward to seeing it now. Okay, so we oh, and by the way, the Atlantis in Aquaman looks like it could possibly be one of the most technologically advanced countries on the face of the earth. The not Atlantis in the Marvel universe does not. It just looks like they've got good architecture and can stand the depths of the oceans. That is it. There is nothing impressive about this version of Atlantis. Not Atlantis. So Riri and Shuri are kept under in this room. They've got guards around them. And Shuri says, I want to meet our captor. I want to meet your king or whatever and so forth. So we're brought to Namor, and he tells his origin story to her. And that's where we learn that it was, what was the beginning of their origin? I actually stepped out to go pee before I was like, okay, it looks like it's a dump. So let me go. And by the time I came back, they were apparently taking something and then it turned them blue. What was that? Tell that.
Essentially, the summarized version is Namor and his people were not Mayan, not Aztec, Mesoamerican tribe. And when Cortez and his ilk came round, the shamans of Namor's people reached out to the Mayan god of water and agriculture, Chak, in the same way that the Wakandans reached out to Bast. And Chak gave the Talocan an herb similar to the heart-shaped herb, except that because he is the god of like rain and moisture, it gave them the ability to hide underwater and a bunch of other special, water-centric powers. And that's when they became the Talocan of the modern world they stand in for the ancient Mayan city of Mu crossed with Atlantis. And Namor, because his mother was pregnant with him when she took the herb, he is able to live in both worlds. He's a mutant, and yes, they use that word. Namor is the first mutant. And no, it doesn't bother me, because Namor in the comics was basically immortal too, and he had been around, I believe, for 1,000 years in the comics. This Namor was born during the time of the Spanish missionaries and conquistadors coming into the Mesoamericas. So he is roughly 500 years old. And yes, Namor is actually functionally immortal.
Okay.
That's why he's considered a god by his people, basically.
So he gives her the origin, and she says, my people aren't going to stop. They're going to be looking for me. And he says that he's going to want them to help rule the world. And Letitia's like, I don't think so. You sound nutso. So he sends her back to the quarters. In the meantime, Angela Bassett, Queen Ramadama, was going over to Lupita Nyong'o. Anyway, God dang it, she's gorgeous. She really is. She is a gorgeous lady. That's all I got to say, okay?
You went from deliberately mispronouncing names to fetishizing them. I swear to
no.
I swear to God,
You will not show disrespect to Lupita Nyong'o. that is just not going to happen in my house.
I'm just saying that when the cancellation mob comes for Eglantine, I wasn't part of this. I tried to correct him. I'm disavowing.
For what? Saying that she's hot?
You went from deliberately mispronouncing their names to getting all turned on by how attractive they were. That is textbook SJW fetishization, and you will get canceled for it. And I will disavow you because I tried to correct him. To whom it may concern, Eglantine's career was done by suicide.
Yeah, but yeah, she's hot. Okay, so anywho, Angela Bassett's going over to Lupita Nyong'o, and she says, "Hey, look, you're one of our greatest spies. We need you to go get Shuri from Atlantis, not Atlantis, excuse me." So she goes, she finds where Atlantis is. She does her thing, and she's in this tight Mira outfit. And I'm thinking, you know, they're not going to want Miss Shit in the Bed to be Mira very long, and they are into race swaps. And if that means she's wearing that tight ass suit, I'm good. But once again, okay, you're fetishizing. Okay, so what if I admit to it?
No, again, it wasn't the fact that you think they're hot. It's that you went from deliberately mispronouncing their names to going on about how hot they are. That is very odd and could easily be taken as, oh, you're dehumanizing them deliberately, derp. And yeah, disavowal.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, let's I've been doing these polls recently. So,
how canceled is Eglantine for the stupid thing he just did?
Okay, here we go. So I'm setting up a poll, and you can tell me. All right, let's get this so I don't feel I don't feel. So there you go. Lupita Nyong'o, hot or really hot? Okay, so there you go. No, so she goes in. She actually infiltrates. She infiltrates Atlantis, and she finds Shuri and such. And she's got the right weaponry. Takes out the guards. At one point in time, Shuri recognizes the fact that one of them is important to Namor. She's trying to save the life, but Shuri's like, I don't remember the character's name. Lupita is like, hey, we got to go. So she takes them, she gets Riri, and they all make this escape, right? And they're in this sub, except for Riri is on the outside on one side, and Lupita's on the outside on the other. And they're going about 20, 30 miles an hour. I don't know nautical, so I can't tell you how many knots, up from the depths of the ocean all the way to the top in about 5 seconds. Their insides are now their outsides, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, water pressure is not to be fucked with, ladies and gentlemen.
All they needed was, and maybe I missed it, so if I missed it, please tell me, but all they needed was one scene saying, take this, it'll help you with the water pressure, that way you don't get the bends.
Or we have special pressurized suits or something.
I never saw that scene. I just saw them just going up without any protection. And I'm thinking, you're dead by the way of the bins for the foreseeable future, kids. It was one of the most laughable scenes, and I couldn't help myself. I'm like, God dang, you're dead. Yeah. Thankfully, my theater wasn't full. Actually, my theater was mostly empty, and I'm not gonna say it's because nobody wants to see this movie. I think it's because this is an 8-screen theater. It's a mom and pops kind of deal. Mm-hmm. And 6 of those theaters were Black Panther. I'm not kidding. Yeah, it was Black Panther, Black Adam, and I want to say that Gator movie that I mentioned.
Lyle Crocodile.
Lyle Crocodile. That was it. Yeah. So they're all there. They're fine. Everything's going good. Namor, however, finds the dead girl, and we get to Wakanda, and everybody's like, yay, okay, he's going to be coming after us, so we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to, holy crap, he's here. It's basically just that. Everybody's going about their business, and the Atlanteans attack. Or the not-Atlanteans attack.
The Talocan.
Well, the Talocan do whatever they want. I'm talking about the Atlanteans. Dang, I messed that up. The Atlanteans. Let's do it that way. All righty. So, yeah, let me tell you something. Once again, M'Baku is the best thing about this. However, I do have one problem. M'Baku, they're in a boat on the river. Take me down to my boat on the river. Anyway, so he's traveling down and he sees Namor, and they're all on the coast. They've already done some damage. M'Baku does this thing. It's a movie thing. Like, I don't know how he stops his boat and launches himself at the same time, but he does. And he comes up and he tries to hit Namor. Doesn't work. Namor one punches his ass, which Namor should and would do.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't kill him, though. I'm hearing that I thought, okay, wow, they killed M'Baku, but no, they didn't. But if they're telling us that he's as strong as Thor and the Hulk, one punch to a normal man.
Yeah, that should have.
I don't care if you're wearing Black Panther armor. It should have killed him. Done. M'Baku's dead because he flat out blam right into his chest. That is a
although wasn't M'Baku injured after this? I believe he was quite severely injured after this.
No, he was in the last battle. He's in the last battle.
Okay, that's continuity errors for the fail.
Yeah, I mean, how strong are you gonna make him? Black Adam is a better movie than Black Panther 2. Something I agree with.
Yeah, it was a lot more enjoyable, and again, I'm easily sold by cool factor when it comes to things that have script issues, and I think both Black Adam and Black Panther had script issues. But if you put a gun to my head and ask me which I would rather watch again, Black Adam is going to win every fucking time, and not just because they did Dr. Fate in a way that didn't make me want to beat my head against a wall.
The whole thing about Black Adam is plot versus story, and that can be a lot of fun because it tells the audience, look, we know what we are. We're going to be an action movie. We're going to give you a little bit of story, but mostly we're here for the big booms.
Yeah, one of the
and the fun, and that's Black Adam, and Black Adam admits that. Black Panther, on the other hand, wants to be elevated. It wants to be Casablanca with superheroes.
It wants to be the like superhero equivalent of something like Roots or 12 Years a Slave or something.
And so Black Adam, I get it. I like it a little bit more. CHRONONAUGHT saying girl power protected them, but Wakanda was not diverse. Have not heard you mention any LGBTQ characters because they don't factor in. There is one scene where a woman comes up and asks another woman, "Are you okay?" She goes, "I'm fine, my love." And that's it. That is the entirety of anything I saw like that. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a lot of woke going on, but it's going to.
It's nowhere as bad as it could be, though. So
it's going to affect you for as bad or as sensitive as you are to it. That's going to be on you. I can't say because I watched it and I was like, okay. But it didn't really bother me. It wasn't so in your face beyond the whole plot of we're not going to recast T'Challa. Instead, we're going to bring another member.
And even Riri isn't as bad as she easily could have been. It's in the roughly same ballpark as America Chavez was in Multiverse of Madness. Given what they had to work with, I think they did as much as they could to fix her. That being said, I think Multiverse of Madness was more effective at fixing America Chavez than Black Panther 2 was at fixing Riri.
Yeah, Riri Williams is fine in the movie. She's not, I mean, there's a couple of scenes where she's a bit incorrigible. Okay, so Namor, we see Shuri and some of the Dormage, they get into their 3 planes. And I mean, like, 3?
You should have a fleet.
You're supposed to be like the most advanced freaking country, and you have one more than American had left over after the Japanese bombed them in Pearl Harbor. 3? You start fresh with 3. America had 2 that made it into the air to defend Pearl Harbor after a huge attack. And you only have 3 to begin with because there was no big old attack. Hey, we're going to attack their military bases. No, for some reason, Namor thought the most strategic places to attack first were the fruit stands. I don't know why, but there you go.
I mean, to be fair to Namor, he was a kid during like the Conquistador era. He might not have kept up with the times, especially if Talocan is being isolationist. Oh my gosh,
those fruit stands, they're the make or break thing as far as a country is concerned. You know, let's forget about the military base over
He's
here.
From pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. Maybe to him that is a big deal.
But yeah, that they did. And even though their military was intact, they had 3 fighter planes. Okay, so anywho, no, actually, I think they have 4 or 5. But point being, it was a very small number, and we get to see what Namor looks like in the air, fighting with his wing feet and flying up and going all, and we get to see it live. Which I gotta say, sometimes the best part of a superhero movie, like you could see Batman in Batman '89, and he's doing his thing, and that was kind of cool. But when you saw Ben Affleck's scene in Batman versus Superman.
It's like that is Batman doing that there.
That's Batman. And when you saw a very fast Namor flying from one ship to another ship, you said,
it's times like these I wish I could wear a watch so I could stare at it until he's done with the bit.
He's still doing it. He's doing that. So anyway, you get that kind of emotion from it. It is so freaking ridiculous. I did not like that battle. I'm sorry, I didn't. The aerial battle was a freaking joke. They tried to make Namor look badass, and they should have. It just was directed wrong.
Yeah,
and we all know the problem that Marvel has with its with the special effects, and he went from being
thing.
Even, I mean, with him just standing there looking noble with his wings going, that was fine. I thought that was fine, but it was him and a green screen.
Yeah,
that's it. But when they have him moving around, he turns absolutely rubber.
Yeah, and compare that to, and I know it's kind of not fair play to point this out again, but compare that to the fight scenes in Black Adam, where you literally feel every time Hawkman and Black Adam go at each other, even though they do it like 2 or 3 times in one scene.
Yeah, at least you actually feel punches. And by the way, you want to talk about how you can make somebody look good bouncing around the screen? Don't watch Black Adam and Hawkeye fight. Watch Dr. Fate. Watch Dr. Fate maneuver himself around the fight as he's sitting in a chair, and then all of a sudden he's sitting in a chair over here. And he's just,
I literally have no patience for your childish shenanigans, so I'm just going to ignore you until this is done.
He always gives himself the best seat in the house to watch the fight. It was a great scene with Dr. Fate. But I'm
amused by the children fighting, and I just don't have the energy to break it up right now. So okay. Love Dr. Fate in Black Adam, by the way. He's the best character in my opinion, regardless. But that was a very good adaptation of the character.
Everybody thought that. Okay, so Namor destroys some planes, and he flies over to Angela Bassett, to Queen Ramonda. Okay. And he throws his spear at her, and it does that right in front of her. And I like this. I don't know if you noticed it, but very gently, she puts Riri behind her. There's no movement. She doesn't even look. She just kind of grabs Riri from
instinctively.
Yeah. And I love that. That was just one of the great character moments. I don't know if it was on script.
Or if Angela Bassett took the initiative, but either way,
I really think it would have lost something had she looked at Riri. No, the threat's right there, and she just goes.
Yeah, I don't need to see what I'm doing. I'm doing this by instinct because A, queen, B, mother, and C
she's a mother who's lost a child, and she doesn't want another child to die on her watch. So that plays into this. Once again, we get a scene where I don't quite understand what's happens. Are we saying that the Queen's throne room is somehow attached to the lake in the ocean? Because he throws in a whole bunch of those water bombs. Now, it could be, maybe I read it wrong. It could be that all this water spilled down into a chamber of the royal palace. It looked like it went into the water. I could be wrong. But Riri goes down the drain. She's in the water. The Queen jumps in after her. And she gets to Riri. She brings her up. And we get the next scene, we see Shuri and Okoye, and they're running in. And they're trying to revive both of them. And once again, this is the spoiler section. The Queen dies. She's drowned. They were able to save Riri. And everybody's like, no. Don't pay attention to the young one. She's annoying. Get the Queen. Get the Queen. She's 67 years old and still hot. Get the Queen. She unfortunately she dies. Shuri breaks down. I think Letitia played that scene. She really can carry some emotional weight. What she can't carry is a movie. And
she's not a very satisfying action presence, I think, is what the largest part of the problem is.
Are y'all doing a watch when it's available? I wouldn't mind. I really wouldn't. Hey, there's going to be a good fight. You do want to sit rings. Exactly, right? That was about the Hawkman fight. That's what a mother would do for her child. And that's one of the great things I loved about it. And once again, I think that it would have been less had she looked.
Yeah.
But and just the fact that she did this, and I'm doing it with the arm you can't see. But the fact that she did that, I love that.
And you could even make the argument that one of the reasons Ramonda did that is because Riri reminds her of Shuri, because they are similar. I mean, they're both geniuses. They're both, So that could factor into it too, which would be cool. I don't know if they intended it to factor in, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it factored in.
So they say, okay, look, this shit's got to stop. They killed the Queen. We're going after the Atlanteans. We're definitely going after Namor. They're going after the it's kind of like, hey, we're going to get ISIS, but mainly we're going to get Osama bin Laden. So they come up with this plan. They finish the armor. Riri finishes the Ironheart armor, making a specific point, by the way, to show her cutting out a heart. And it hits the floor. Hey, look, kids, Ironheart. You know this character, don't you? No. Well, you will after the movie.
And the movie will be better than the comic, much as the same with America Chavez, but never mind.
It is better than the comic. So they come up with a plan because they realize that every time Namor would crash a plane or do something big, he would dive back into the ocean and come out. And they realize, oh my gosh, he is like some fish or some sea animals that absorb oxygen through his skin. It's not like that he doesn't have gills. He absorbs it through the skin. They mentioned jellyfish and so forth, being able to draw straight oxygen straight through. So they realized that, oh my gosh, if he's not near water, he'll be weaker.
If we can dehydrate him, then he'll be powerless, basically.
Which I'm thinking, well, welcome to what everybody else figured out 5 seconds into the movie.
Yeah, it's like, character who explicitly draws power from a water-based god and lives in the water. I wonder what his weakness could be.
Yeah, we'll figure it out because we're super geniuses. It was, but they did come up with the idea. And after that brilliant discovery that if you dry out a sea creature, they're going to not be well, they decide, okay, well, we've got to draw the battle out somewhere. We can't have it in the middle of Wakanda again. Where are we going to have it? Oh, I know the best place to have it. Oh, pick me. The middle of the fucking ocean. We, the land-based people, are going to make sure that this war takes place in the middle of the ocean.
When we're fighting a people who we just previously established draw their powers and the majority of their life force from water.
That would be okay.
This surely can't go wrong at any point.
It would be dumb had they needed to go after them. Okay, I want to kill Namor. I have to go after him. I'm going to fight him in the water. It would be dumb to do that because you know he draws his power from the water. It is absolutely freaking Riri when you know that the guy hates you so much and he announces he's coming back for you. You don't have to go into the middle of the ocean.
Wait 5 minutes. He'll be back. You can take him with home field advantage.
He literally says, at the end of the week, you're going to be all dead. Okay, well, you know what you do? They were already evacuating. You see scenes, they're evacuating Wakanda. Take them to outside Wakanda. You don't give a shit about those countries anyway. And plus, it might actually get you nearer to the goddamn desert, which is ultimately what they wanted. Fight
the water-based character in the desert, because otherwise he literally has the strength of a god.
So, no. These idiots, these super geniuses, want to go out into the middle of the ocean in a boat. It's a big boat. Don't get me wrong. It's a big-ass ship. And they are going to fight the Atlanteans. And for a while, they're putting up a good battle. Even Riri comes in the iron. I don't see, everybody was talking about the design. It looks like in the comics. I'm fine with the design for Riri Williams. And she's doing her thing. We do get the final battle between Atuma and Okoye, of course. It was called on, but I didn't see who won that fight. And everything's going, and they finally they decide what they're going to do with Namor is they drive him upward into the sky where he's away from water, and they're able to capture him in one of the ships. And they're like, oh, we have figured out your weakness. And we get this dramatic pan up into the rafters of the ship. I don't know if ships have rafters. Up at the top of the ship there, and there's 3 space heaters. Now, granted, they said something about these will draw moisture from him. But
they're literal dehumidifiers, basically.
They look like space heaters. They really do. And so Shuri tells the ship, take them to the desert, and they're flying around, and they didn't count on Namor using the brilliant strategy of fighting back. They left him with his spear, so he starts stabbing.
Wait, he's not supposed to actually resist us. He's supposed to lie down and take it when we beat him.
But you're supposed to just stand there. Why are you hitting my ship?
That's not fair play at all. You're supposed to let me win.
Namor is he destroys the ship. They crash, and they're on a beach. And they have their fight. And I'm thinking, okay, excuse me, teacher? Yeah. When did Shuri become a ninja? Because her whole life was science. Now, granted, I understand that some royal families teach their kids how to fight, but ultimately, Riri's interest went to the sciences, not the T'Challa, the warrior, Shuri, the scientist. But
Shuri took the reconstituted heart-shaped herb because she was able to take threads from
that's right. He's got the DNA.
Atlantean equivalent herb that Namor had given her in bracelet form as like a peace offering, and what she already had from the research of trying to save T'Challa and some of his DNA.
Able to breathe water too, if you think about that. But
no, because she selected out the parts of Namor's herb that were similar to the heart-shaped herb.
Well, here's the thing. Also, she added in her brother's DNA. So apparently she got fighting skills from it. Point being is she's a scientist. She dedicated her life to the sciences, not to the warrior part. And by culture, even though some royal families do teach their sons to fight, by culture, Black Panther, the Wakandans, only had male heirs become the Black Panther. So you could gather from that they only taught the male heirs to fight.
Well, I will,
except for, of course, the Dora Milaje.
I will allow for this because, one, the Dora Milaje were very close to Shuri, and two, T'Challa himself was very close to Shuri. So I could see him teaching her how to fight, like when they were hanging out.
So she would know a little bit, but Namor's been alive for 500 years.
Yeah,
homie should know how to put up the fists. On the other hand, he's been isolated from everything, so maybe not.
And on the other hand, he's been underwater for 90% of those 500 years.
So anyway, they start fighting, and of course, she does have superpowers, and that's something we need to really pay attention to, because at one point in time, towards the end of the fight,
she gets stabbed through her back, basically.
Her spear's taken. No, I paid attention because I was like, holy shit. How is she going to? I know she has healing factor, but that looked like a spine hit. But no, when she's moving in, it goes. It's kind of like the Rambo 3 thing where it goes through the side all the way through, but it would be where there's no major organ.
It essentially goes around the vital areas.
Yeah. So I saw that and I went, okay, it's ridiculous, but it's not beyond comics. I saw in one X-Men comic I hate, they actually shoved a freaking spear into Jubilee. She's a 13-year-old girl, and it goes right through here. I'm sorry. She doesn't have healing factor. If you do survive this, you lost all use of that side of your body. That's done. But or at least the arm anyway. So she gets stabbed, and we see she has worked Namor down. So he's like, I need the water.
He's dehydrated as all get out, and he's literally dying.
Remember, during this fight, Namor is weakened because he had a lot of moisture drawn from him while he was on the ship. So Shuri is not facing at the most powerful level Namor. So he's looking for water. She breaks one part of the spear off and then walks off of it. And remember, she has a healing factor. It's not Wolverine's healing factor, but she does have a healing factor. We've seen it. This should, however, have slowed her down, because next thing we see her do is a big old flip over Namor. And I don't remember if she kicks him. That might be me remembering Firefly, but he's walking and she yells, Wakanda forever. And then
I think she did kick him.
She kicks him? Yeah, okay.
Because then he's in the path of the engine when she does what she does in a second.
And she yells Wakanda forever, and she turns on the ship's engine and burns Namor.
He takes a jet engine to the face. It's kind of awesome, actually.
Right. So he goes down, and she takes her spear and she's holding it to his throat, and she's thinking, should I kill him? Should I not kill him? It's Namor. You know, she ain't gonna kill him.
He's going to survive because there's going to be a Submariner movie. We know this. It is known, Khaleesi.
And then we see we cut to the big battle, and it looks like the Wakandans are losing. And then the ship shows up, and there's Namor and Shuri standing next to each other, and he does his Imperious Rex. By the way, he whispers Imperious Rex in Aztecian or whatever language, and he tells everybody to stand down. And Shuri goes, Wakanda forever, and I'm like, not if the Atlanteans have anything to say.
Yeah, I'm like, I know being merciful is very good for your character arc and everything, especially because otherwise you're literally having the ghost of Killmonger whispering in your ear, but you do know he's been around since the Conquistadors, and he's been worshipped as a god for good reason all that time. You may want to take your one moment of advantage, because this is not happening again if Namor has anything to say about this.
That's what I was thinking. I can't trust you. That would be it. I'm sorry. Hey, look, if I had Putin down on the ground, oh, well, can I trust it? Nope.
It literally reminded me of that one scene in Ghostbusters. Are you a god? No. then die. That's what should have happened.
Yeah. Or as I said, Firefly. I want you to take this money back to, oh, I'm going to cut your, okay. And he kicks him into the freaking jet engine. That should have been the death. She shouldn't have let Namor live, but here or there, the battle's over. And then we get the 900 endings.
So many endings.
Yeah. I don't really want to go through them all. The big one, of course, was they find out that Lupita Nyong'o had T'Challa's child, and his name is T'Challa. So guess how they're going to bring T'Challa back?
Well, okay, his Haitian name, because he was born in Haiti, is Tucson. His Wakandan name is T'Challa, which is basically T'Challa Jr. in Wakandan.
Yeah, I guess how they're going to bring T'Challa back. They're going to age up that kid John Kent style. I don't think they're gonna have him replace the Black Panther. I think they're gonna have him be the surrogate Black Panther for the Young Avengers, because they're already setting up Scar, they're already setting up Wiccan, Speed, and they're probably gonna do some version of Iron Lad with the Kang saga. So they're doing Young Avengers at some point, one way or the other. So they're gonna have a Black Panther for the Young Avengers. What they're probably gonna do. I mean, they're already setting up Stature in Ant-Man 3 too. So Young Avengers. Okay, so there we go. That's the movie. I wasn't impressed by the mid-credit scene. It was just okay. First of all, that kid's smile just freaked me out. You're a creepy-looking kid, dude.
Child actor. Behold a child actor, ladies and gentlemen.
If his eyes went white and he joined the Village of the Damned, he would fit right in. That's all I'm saying.
Or the twins at the end of the hallway in The Shining.
Almost definitely, except for it's like smiling. No. So here's the thing. I was not bored for a second. A lot of people are saying it's a boring movie, so most people are saying it was. I was never bored, but I was having fun even when the movie was bad. There were things that I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was actively watching this film. I didn't hate it. It's a bad film, but there were things that made me, I would not put this all the way at the bottom. It's somewhere like Thor Love and Thunder's probably the worst Marvel movie to me at this point. Maybe Captain Marvel. I would watch Thor Love and Thunder before I'd watch Captain Marvel.
You are overly, I don't know if you're being overly mean to Love and Thunder or you're being overly nice to a bunch of other Marvel movies. But
you know what? You and I just disagree on the order because you've got Winter Soldier far lower than I would. But point being is I would not put this at the bottom. So it finds its way somewhere in the middle. I would have to actually rank them for that. But the way I would say it is I think this is a movie. It's critic proof. People are going to go see it because it's Black Panther 2. My desire to see it again is not all that great. Like I'm going to see Black Adam in the theater again. When I walked by when I was sitting in the movie, I had to go to the bathroom and I had to walk by Black Adam and I was tempted.
Yeah, it's like, I would rather see this movie again. I
was tempted to, Black Adam's about to start. Do I want to see the end of Black Panther or do I want to see Black Adam again? I was really tempted just to skip the rest of Black Panther. I knew we were going to be doing this, so I went back to
sorry. I'm distracted because Ethereal Dragon said something that I have to rebut now. Hulkling is not a fake Hulk. You could make the argument for Scar being a fake Hulk, but Hulkling and Scar are not the same character. I have a terrible feeling they're going to make them the same character in the MCU, but Hulkling is an excellent character, and Wiccan and Hulkling are the best gay couple in comics. And I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
They really are butchering Namor in this film. The actor, I got to tell you, he wasn't bad. He wasn't horrible. What he was given to work with was horrible. He was not. It wasn't Namor. I think the guy did fine, except for maybe a few scenes. He was okay. It was fine. But what he had to work with was not good. Now, Angela Bassett, oddly enough, Everything they gave her to work with was awesome. Like you could tell what this movie was really about. And it was about dealing with the loss of T'Challa. They should have saved Namor they should have saved Namor for some other movie. This should have been more about Wakanda than Wakanda dealing with the rest of the world. This should have been, but because that's all they cared about here.
The thing is, I think they were sort of basically doomed to touch on the Atlanteans in Black Panther 2, because that was the direction I thought they were going before Chadwick even died. So this is probably we had a previous script where the Talocans were the villains, and so we had to include them somewhere here because otherwise no antagonist.
Right. Now we are closely getting to a point where our review is as long as the movie.
Oh, nowhere near. We're not even as far as
I think we got one more hour to go, right? But there you go, kids. I can't recommend it. I cannot recommend this film. How about you?
It is fine. I think this movie is better than the first one because the first one had a lot more problems than a lot of people remember. We obviously at the time were critical of it, but there were a lot of problems with the first Black Panther that people don't pay attention to. I genuinely think this was better. I'm looking forward to an eventual Submariner movie, where presumably Namor will be written by a better writer. Please. Okay.
Now, you know the rules. 1 and 2 is horrible. 3 and 4 is bad. 5 and 6 is average. 7 and 8 is good. 9 and 10 is awesome.
I really wish there was I really wish we could do it by 0.5s because
no, that's why I do it the way I do it. You get low bad, high bad, low good, so high good, so forth and so on.
Somewhere between a 6 and
the way 7. You want it, it's got to go 15. So it's like good, bad, average, bad, so forth and so on. That gets to it.
Right. Okay. I'll give it a 6.
A 6. So you give it a high average.
Yeah.
I think I'm with you right there. I give it a high average. There was enough here that was good that it wasn't bad. But I would end up giving it a 6. In a disguise also, I'm going to ignore that 0.5 there, but in a disguise gives it a 6. What do you guys think? And I agree. In a disguise, if you got the Disney Plus and everything, and you're wondering, shouldn't I? Look, it's up to you. Sometimes these movies are better seen on the big screen anyway. But if you don't want to, put out the big money for it, go see it on a matinee, or wait for it to stream. Serious.
Ethereal Dragon. That's exactly the point as to why Hulkling isn't a fake Hulk, because they did give him his own backstory. They did give him his own power set and his own distinct abilities. Do not badmouth Hulkling unless you want to be on the bad side of me, kids. This is a thing. I will defend my gay power couple in comics, which is Hulkling and Wiccan. They are both excellent characters, and they are an excellent couple. Leave them alone.
All righty, kids. But thank you for listening to us ramble on. If you do like this kind of thing, please hit like. Let us know when we post the video. Please click like, share, put a hey, cool, something to tell us to keep going with these things. Because in all honesty, I kind of want to keep going with these things. I like it, even though we don't have the preview showing. I was thinking about trying to find a way to put the preview behind me here where it's moving, but it might be too distracting. Let us know if you like these breakdown reviews that Dalton and I do. Thank everybody for hanging out with us. Dalton, thank you very much for sitting in and doing the review with me. And to everyone, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.